All right, so if you're learning Spanish, you've probably run into this. You're feeling good, you're making progress, and then bam, you hit these verbs that just seem to change their spelling for no reason at all. Well, today, we're going to crack that code. I mean, this is the classic example, right? You learn the verb querer, which means to want. So logically, I want should be yo quiero. But then you hear everyone saying yo quiero, and you're just thinking, wait, where on earth did that I come from? It feels totally random, but I promise you it's not. There's a really simple pattern hiding in plain sight. In that pattern, it has this fantastic nickname, the shoe verb. In the next couple of minutes, we're going to pull back the curtain on this secret, and trust me, these verbs that seem so tricky right now are about to become incredibly easy. So let's just dive in with an example. Here we have the verb pensar, which means to think. Now just look at the chart. We've got pienso, piensas, piensa, and then, whoa, hold on, pensamos and pensáis. The E is back. And then right at the end, it's piensan again. Do you see it? Do you see where the change is happening? And more importantly, where it's not?
Okay, so this is it. This is the absolute key. The stem of the verb, that's the main part, it only changes for the I, you, he, she, it, and they forms. It does not change for we or you all. This one little rule is the master key that unlocks all of these verbs.
And this is exactly why they get that funny name. If you literally draw a line around all the forms that change on that chart, you get a shape that looks kind of like a shoe or a boot. And which two forms are left outside of the shoe all by themselves? Nosotros and vosotros. It's just a brilliant little visual trick to help you remember the rule. Okay, so now that we've got the main rule down, let's break these verbs into their three main groups, or families. The first one, and it's by far the most common, is where the letter E in the verb stem changes into IE. Let's look at pensar again, but this time with our shoe drawn on it. See, it's so clear now. Pienso, piensas, piensa, and piensan are all snug inside the shoe, and that's where the E becomes E. But pensamos and pensáis, they're outside, so they don't change. They keep their original E. And once you get this pattern, it unlocks so many verbs you use every single day. Cerrar becomes cierro. Entender becomes entiendo. And yup, the verb from our very first slide, querer, becomes quiero. They all play by the exact same shoe rule. Let's keep the ball rolling and move on to our second family. The concept is 100% the same, but this time, instead of an E, we're changing an O in the stem to a UE. So let's take the verb volver, to return. And what do you know? It's the exact same shoe shape. Inside the shoe, that O flips to a UE, so we get vuelvo, vuelves, vuelve, vuelven. But outside the shoe, for nosotros and vosotros, that O stays right where it is. Volvemos, volvéis. See? It's the same rule, just different vowels. And once again, this applies to a huge list of super useful everyday verbs. Poder means to be able to, but I can is puedo. Dormir is to sleep, but I sleep is duermo. Once you see this pattern, you really do start to see it everywhere. All right, time for our third and final family. Now this one's a little less common. You won't see it quite as often, but the rule is just as consistent. In this group, the stem vowel E changes to a single I. Our model verb here is pedir, to ask for. And no surprises here, right? The shoe rule holds strong. Everything inside the shoe changes. So it's pido, pides, pide, piden. That E has turned into an I. But outside the shoe, the stem is perfectly safe. Pedimos, pedis. The pattern is just completely reliable. And here's a little pro tip. This E to I change, you're almost exclusively going to find it in verbs that end in IR. So verbs like servir becomes sirvo and repetir becomes repito. But, say it with me, only inside that trusty shoe shape. Okay, so now you know what happens. But for those of you who really want to make this information stick, let's talk about why it happens. Because when you understand the why, the rule becomes impossible to forget. And this right here is the big secret. It all comes down to sound, to pronunciation. That vowel in the stem, it only changes when it's in the part of the word that you naturally emphasize when you say it. This slide just shows it perfectly. And you know what? Try saying it out loud. For I think you say pienso. The stress is on the front, on the stem. And because that syllable is stressed, it changes. Now try the we form, pensamos. Hear that? The stress moves to the ending, off of the stem. And since the stem isn't getting the stress, it doesn't change. That's it. That's the entire reason the shoe pattern even exists. Okay, I know we've covered a lot. So let's bring it all together into one simple, super practical summary. Think of it as your cheat sheet that you can come back to anytime. And here it is, the three families all in one place. You've got E changing to IE, like in pienso. You've got O changing to UE, like in vuelvo, and E changing to I, like pido. But just look at that last column. For the nosotros form, across all three families, what do you see? No change. Ever. And really, that brings us back to the single most important takeaway, the golden rule. If you remember absolutely nothing else from this, remember this. In the present tense, the stem change never, ever, ever happens for nosotros or vosotros. They are always safely outside the shoe.
So there you have it. The secret's out. These stem-changing verbs aren't random at all. They follow a simple, predictable pattern that's all about sound. So the only real question left is, which one of these verbs are you going to go out and master first?